2021. We are speaking with the one and only Ronnie Atkins from, of course, Pretty Maids. The new album is called One Shot, comes out March 12th, basically at the end of this week. And as we say here in Montreal, bonjour, Ronnie. How are you?
Bonjour, Mitch. I'm good. I'm good, man.
Pleasure to talk to you. Now, you may not, well, in fact, you don't know this, but I spent a large part of my childhood in Denmark because my mom's Danish, works for Denmark's radio. And so we spent a lot of time in Slalza and in Copenhagen. Pretty much my entire, up until about the age of 12, I was there all the time. I don't speak any Danish, but I have an affinity for all things Denmark. Red, white. What was it? Red, white, dynamite. Red and white. We are Danish dynamite. How does that go again? The soccer team thing. We are red. We are white. We are Danish dynamite. There we go.
That's it. You told me last time we talked. Actually.
Yeah, I did. So let's get into this album, One Shot, and we will talk about the health as well, but not as much. I want to focus on music first. Talking about doing this solo album, you have resisted for many years, always focused on doing, Pretty Maids, Nordic Union, being a band guy. But this time you said, all right, let's go for it. Talk to me about that decision and deciding to step out and be Ronnie for a change.
Well, I think I was always Ronnie somehow. The thing is that in the past, because I've been doing this Nordic Union thing, I've been doing Avantasia. I never really had the need nor the desire to do anything out of the box, so to speak. But I mean, decision was very much connected partly to my illness and the fact that the world was in a lockdown and I couldn't do much. I mean, I couldn't do anything else really. I mean, I just had a heavy, diagnosis, well, stage 4 cancer, and I mean, I had two options. I could sit down and feel pity for myself and do nothing, or I could and watch series, whatever, or I could focus on something good, which is what I chose, to put the bad things aside and do what I love doing the most of my life, sing and write. That's what I wanted to do, and I had all these song ideas and stuff like that, and I was writing quite a bit at the time being as well, so it was kind of a logical step to take, I would say.
It would say, and you're right. It does, of course, tie into the diagnosis. So as we speak here on March 8th, 2021. Where are you in terms of recuperating, or in terms of just your health? Are you on the path of getting better? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling good. I mean, I've been feeling good for a long time. I'm getting immune therapy, and that obviously keep the devil from my doorstep, so to speak. And I've been feeling good for a long time. And this is now it was just after the lockdown last year, so it was almost a year ago. But what they told me back then was that it was. I mean, the diagnosis is still the same. What they said was that we cannot give you any guarantees how much time you have left. You're not terminal. It could be 3 months. It could be 3 years. I mean, fully for many years. But what I did, I went in and read the statistics, and that's really, really bad reading. So I was in a kind of panic. I mean, I panicked for a long time. It took me quite a while to cope with, and that's also I didn't go public with this until I think September, October last year, something like that. So, but the music was the most important thing for me. So I used it as some kind of to occupy myself with something positive, and as some kind of a musical therapy for myself to do this.
Well, I mean, it is therapy, and music is very therapeutic. How immersive was it then when you said, okay, I've got this diagnosis, we're on lockdown, to wake up every morning and go, okay, I'm going to go in the studio, I'm going to go write something. How therapeutic was that? Because just sitting around staring at the wall, I mean, you get old real fast when you do that. So talk to me about the healing power of that.
Well, I basically said I talked to a psychologist and stuff like that at the time being, which I've never done before, and she said that I think it's very important, to you try to set a goal for yourself, and that's what I did, and I set the goal for myself, well, knowing that maybe I wouldn't even be alive when the album was done. So that's why it was done totally the other way around, that what we normally do, totally upside down. That I actually sent my ideas up to Chris Laney, who produced the album in Stockholm, and he did a demo, and I sent it back to me. I did the vocals, and I sent it back to him again, and then we did the instrumentation. So I just wanted to make sure that I did my part of the deal, and got my vocals done and get the songs done. So it was, yeah, it was really pretty surreal.
I can imagine. Now, in terms of the content, are these lyrically very revealing, and they talk about the human condition and sort of, how do you sort of approach the lyrical content on this one? Was it sort of retrospective of, all right, here we are, I've got this thing going on, and let me talk about it, or was it, no, I got to get away from that. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, but I couldn't get that out of my system. I mean, there was like that topic were kind of stuck in my head, for a long, long time, because I mean, it took me quite a while to deal with it. So, I mean, what I mean is that it was hard to write about, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or Dungeons and Dragons at the time being. I mean, because it felt so much in my head.
Oh, I can't hear you.
No.
There you are. There you are.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, okay. Did you hear what I said? Or
I heard stuck in my head. That's all. I heard the stuck in my head part. But
yeah, but I mean, I that again, that was some kind of a therapy. I decided to be pretty open about it. And I just the lyrics I wrote in the spring last year are very honest, because that's how I felt at the time being. And as I said, it was really hard to write about like sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the situation I was in. So it became what it became, and I like it. But at the same time, as they're about my disease, there's also some kind of a positive message in it. That we got to live this one life we have.
Yeah, you really do. We don't have much choice.
I mean, one shot, that's what it's all people say, but is that because you only have one shot at this? When I say I might just have this one shot, I hope I'll have a second shot, for sure, because I'm still writing and I still got a lot of ideas. But the message is basically not just me having one shot, but we only have one shot at life, live in the now, seize the day, and get the best out of
it. Talking about the one shot, when you're writing for yourself this time, and you're not writing for Nordic Union, it's not Avantasia, it's not Pretty Maids, do you purposely try to say something different? Sort of, how do you decide which one goes in the pile of Pretty Maids and which one is a Ronnie song? Like, did you write a couple of songs and go, okay, that we're going to have to keep for Pretty Maids? Are you saying something completely different, or will a fan pick this up and go, yeah, okay, I got this, I know what this is?
No, I mean, I had some ideas. As I said, I had some old ideas on my iPhone. I actually used some of it, where I'd like written like a chorus for PM from 2017 or something like that. I used that for the song called "I Prophesize." I particularly remember, but some of the stuff wouldn't go on a Pretty Maids album, I think, and particularly lyrically. I mean, some of these songs are too personal to be a band thing, because I'm speaking very much for myself on some of these songs. But basically, a good song is a good song. When you write a good song on either a piano or a guitar, it's a good song. If you remember the hook line and stuff like, and you got a great melody, then it's a matter of how you wrap it up, how you produce it. We did that with Pretty Maids on several songs. That was basically kind of very commercial pop songs that we sort of produced into to be suitable on a Pretty Maids record. So I didn't really think too much about it. It was, for me, it was about writing some good stuff, writing some good songs, and then we decided to produce it into something that people that's been following me and whatever I've been involved in for the last 30-40 years, so they could kind of identify themselves with it.
Talking about working with Chris, obviously he's in the band Pretty Maids with you. Was it different having him behind the producer's desk and giving you some instructions and some theories, or was it comforting to have somebody you knew and go, okay, he understands what I want to get to?
Yeah, because that's what he did. We were pretty much on par on this, and we like the same kind of music and stuff like that, mostly. And he did a great job, and it was such a smooth process, even though we did it the way we did it, and we didn't really see each other. Only I think once when we did the drums during the recording of the album, and no, it went totally smooth. I know the guy; he's a lovable guy, and we always had a good relationship. So it wasn't like he told me you do this and you do that. That's not the way it worked. We pretty much agreed on everything. So it was. It's a smooth process, absolutely.
An absolutely smooth process. So let me go back into the history of Pretty Maids for a little bit. Beginning of March, Metallica celebrated the anniversary of Master of Puppets, and Flemming Rasmussen, of course, tweeted and Facebooked about that occasion. Obviously, a great occasion. But you worked with him on Syndicate in 1992. Talk to me about working with Flemming and his process, because obviously what he did with Metallica worked. What were you looking for in a producer at that time, and did you get it from Flemming? And was there stuff you look back and go, man, that was smart. He's good. No wonder Metallica's so popular.
I think we worked with Flemming for the first time in beginning of 1987 when he mixed half of the Future World album. That was actually
that's right.
And Flemming is such a great guy, and it's like he's also a super easygoing guy. So and we did a couple of albums with him, but that's years ago now. But and in particularly the Syndicate, there was a great chemistry in the studio and everything. So, and Flemming was the most notable rock and roll guy in Denmark at the time, being in the 80s, because he started doing he did Rainbow as well, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. He did 2 albums with them, and so he was the obvious choice if you wanted to do some heavy stuff, and he did a great job back then. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and I tried to avoid Future World because that was the Eddie Kramer album, which didn't go so well.
Yeah, but Flemming mixed 5 of the songs, and Kevin Ellison, who did Journey in Europe, and those bands mixed 4 songs or something like that, the more commercial ones.
Yeah, and just great sounding records. Just real quick, in terms of, now we talked a little bit about the pandemic and having you shut down and stuff. Pretty Maids, to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is a band that really makes it by touring and by being out there and by selling merch and by being a live band. How much has this affected you in terms of what you're able to do? Because listen, I'm in North America. We don't hear Pretty Maids on the radio. We should hear Pretty Maids on the radio, but we don't hear Pretty Maids on the radio. So you coming out there and you playing a show, to me, seems to be ultimately important. What has this done to sort of be sidelined for a year?
It's been very frustrating for us as well as it has been for, I would say, almost everybody. All bands can. So that's where you make your money. It was very frustrating, first of all, for this band that before the pandemic came along. I got sick before that, and it was very frustrating for everybody in the band and for the whole band situation, because we had a brand new album, Undress Your Madness, coming out in November. We had a lot of gigs lined up in December, and a whole European tour lined up in January, February 2020, which we knew we wouldn't be able to be able to do because I was going through chemotherapy and radiation therapy and all that crap, so to speak. And so it was a very frustrating time. And since that, it's been frustrating. Actually, we haven't really seen each other since we played the last gig in I think it's beginning of September 2019. And everybody is like doing their own things right now, I think, projects, as far as I know, and stuff like that. So let's see when all this pandemic is over. Hopefully, the sooner the better, so we can get back to normal and people can go and see a live concert again. I think we're all hunger for that.
Yeah, it definitely is something that we need in terms of the band Pretty Maids, because you were on this tour. It did get cut short. When everything opens up, do you go back and keep touring on that album, or do you say to yourself, okay, listen, we're going to have to make new music? And are you able to think about that at this point, given the health situation, or is Pretty Maids, like right now, the furthest thing from your mind? Like, don't even talk to me about that. I have other issues to deal with.
I have no plans at all, basically, for neither this or that, because as you say, my health situation very much depends. It's hard for me to plan anything. It's hard for me to say that in 6 months, let's do this tour, or 9 months, we'll do this tour. I'm living in intervals in 3 months because from scan to scan, because I mean, the diagnosis is what it is. Right now, I feel great. And if it was right now, I would go out on tour. I don't know if I can do 6 gigs a week because I lost some lung capacity and stuff like that. But my voice is still there, and there was nothing in the whole wide world right now that I'd rather do than go back on stage. That's one of my new goals, so to
Yeah.
speak. But we haven't made any plans, nor have I made any plans for anything else when it comes to live. Let's see how the situation develops, both with the whole COVID-19 situation and my health situation. So right now, there's no plans. But we haven't. We in fact we never played one single song from Undress Your Madness because I was already sick when the album came out.
Wow. Wow. And Kingmaker and Undress Your Madness are just fantastic records. And I want to ask you this about that real quick. I had this discussion with a friend the other day, and he said, he said from 2000 onwards, American bands that we all know and love have been putting out sort of paint by numbers, sort of kind of records. Whereas you look at Pretty Maids, you look at Thunder, you look at FM, you look at all these bands from Europe, and it seems to be that they're releasing the best music of their career. Do you think that the European scene is alive and vibrant? Because we always hear this rock is dead nonsense, which which is not. Um, but there seems to be a greater urgency going on in Europe. Do you feel that way?
I don't know. I mean, I can. Well, all I can say is that personally, I'm very proud, and that we in Pretty Maids, for especially 2000 and since 2010 when we did the Pandemonium album, we had like kind of like a second coming or like a musical rebirth somehow. Did things a little differently, and since that, I think we've been pretty solid and pretty constant in doing good albums. Personally speaking, I gotta say that's great. But I don't know if there's any difference between European bands or American bands in that way. I think it's a matter of being able to write a good song generally, and having some kind of a vision for it.
Yeah.
And I think we've been really solid the last 10, 11 years, kept a very good level.
I think your level, I think all the bands I've mentioned, their level has actually upped. I would say that for a lot of folks, you look at Kingmaker and Louder Than Ever, and it might be some of the best stuff you've done. And that's not to insult the earlier stuff, but you've been on fire. I mean,
yeah, but as I said, we had like I don't know what happened. We just had the spirit back, and the desire to do it again for good, some 10, 11 years ago. And I think it was a combination of different things, up from 2002, our management went bankrupt. And so we were in some weird turmoil for a couple of years. We didn't really know what to do, didn't really have the fire. We did an album called Wake Up to the Real World in 2006, but that was kind of a half-hearted attempt, it never really kicked off, I think, But since Pandemonium in 2010, we started working with producer Jacob Hans and started detuning the guitars. It gave the music a different touch, I think. And since then, we've been on a roll, and we've been seeing it at concerts also because there's a new generation of fans, popping up. So that's been really cool.
Oh, it's been great. Let's get back to One Shot. You had, of course, Key Marcello and Pontus and Chris and a bunch of others come in and play on the record. Talk to me about having that and not just having, four guys in a room and let's do a record, and bringing in the different players just to sort of have everybody in there. Talk to me about the different guitarists that you brought into the record.
Well, as a matter of fact, I would say it was mostly Chris that brought him in, because he knew all these guys up in Stockholm. I knew Pontus Norgren, who was an amazing guitarist, but it was like Chris that brought in Key Marcello, for instance, and I brought in Oliver Hartman from Avantasia and stuff like that. I think it's great because it gives the album, not only just talking about guitarists, right, but I mean, also the other musicians done a great job, Pontus Ekberg on bass, Linnea, Alan Sørensen, my old Pretty Maids members, and Morten Senna did a great job. Linnea Wikström, it was great to have a female vocalist on the album, because it gives the songs a totally different, diverse identity, some kind of almost gospel to some of it, which is and she's fantastic. So that's really fun. That was great.
It adds in texture, which is what you're always looking for. You want to have some different well, texture to go into a song. Since you mentioned Avantasia, that is the only time I've ever had a chance to see you perform live, is when Avantasia came to Montreal. Talk to me about that project. And Tobias does a great job. But what's it like for you to get in there and just sing somebody else's song, sing somebody else's vision, and just be a guest and not have to worry about whether it's good or bad or sells or doesn't sell, and just show up and just be a singer?
What's fantastic. It's like a paid vacation, No, but
Well,
it's
yeah.
Avantasia is great, and I'm a very good friend with Toby. Actually, Toby asked me to participate in this project all the way back in 1999 on the first metal opera album they did. But I didn't know who he or Ed Guy or Avantasia was back then, and I wouldn't have done it anyway at that time. But it's been great for me. I've been doing 3 tours with them now, and it's like one big family, and there's so many different singers, but there's no ego shit and all that. Even all those alpha males are there, there's no ego. It's really like a one big family, and it's great. And there's a lot of people coming to the shows, and particularly in Europe, in South America, and it's been great. I've been going to countries I've never been to. I've never been to Australia before. That was amazing. And we also toured the US. It was great too. And Montreal was a fantastic city, actually.
Montreal's a great city. Let me let them in before we wrap up here. It's been 40 years. The band formed in 1981. First album comes out 3 years later. Looking back at the career, are you surprised that it lasted this long, or did you expect it to last this long? And then let's talk a little bit about why European market said, yes, we love this band and we keep going. And what were some of the difficulties in the North American market for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, to answer the first part of your question, you got to remember back then when I started out in this band, I was 17, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I thought that when you were 30, you were an old fart, But that changed dramatically with the years.
That changes when you hit 31. You go, no, I'm not. I'm still young. I'm still young.
Yeah, absolutely. You know how it is. My daddy.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, my daddy always said the best age is between 40 and 50. I gotta agree with him, actually. But no, no. Of course, I didn't expect the band to be 40 years old. But here we are, and time flies when you have fun, right?
Something very proud of, actually.
The other part of the question is, but that's a matter of different circumstances. I mean, back in '87, we actually had the chance to go out with Whitesnake, who was probably, of course, huge in '87 with that album. And we would have gone out with them in America for 3 weeks. And we were played on MTV and stuff like that. And the whole focus was on melodic hard rock and heavy metal at the time being. It was the shit back then, right? And we couldn't do it because we had an obligation with Deep Purple in Europe for their European tour. But sometimes I'm thinking about it. I wonder if we went on that tour, because the band was really on fire back then, and we were young and all that. And if we went on that tour, we probably would have jumped on another tour if we found the right management and stuff like that. So it's probably a big reason that we didn't have the right management. We have a Danish manager who didn't know how to deal with it, and our record company was based in Copenhagen. I mean, it was CBS Records, so that later became Sony Music, but we were not signed directly to New York or London or something like that. If we were, I'm sure it would have been a totally different situation. But we did good in Europe, so
I want to ask you about that, because when I think of Pretty Maids and I see Pretty Maids with Whitesnake, I think that's a perfect bill. I mean, that's a perfect bill. I think Pretty Maids and Deep Purple, I go, that's kind of strange. Would you look at that as being a mistake in your career? Because North America, had you been here, that could have been a huge turning point. Those 3 weeks could have made a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I think about how we would have been able to change everything. How our fate could have changed totally. Yes. I'm pretty sure, and I actually I agree with you with the music that Whitesnake did on the '87 album, and what we did were closer, than closer to what Whitesnake than what Deep Purple did, of course, you know. But that said, the Deep Purple tour was great, and
Of
we
course.
played the big Monsters of Rock shows in Germany, or at least one of them, and stuff like that, you know. So that was the sole found. That was basically sort of the foundation for the success we have today, and we still have a market in Germany, you know, because we toured a lot in Germany in the 80s.
But I'm also thinking of the fan base. You look at a 17-year-old metalhead in North Dakota compared to a Deep Purple fan who's more of a muso and a more of it's a different fan. Who made that decision? Is that a band decision, or is that the management that just went, "Oh no, you should go to Deep Purple. It'll be much better for you. Trust us." Who
Well,
makes that decision?
it was it was a deal we'd done, you know, that we opened up for them, and that was a big tour for us in Europe, you know, because and that tour was part of breaking the band in Europe. At the same time, Future World was hugely successful in Germany. So it's not that I regret that. I wish I could be two places at the same time, you know,
Right.
two places.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the Whitesnake tour would definitely could have been a game changer, no doubt about that.
Oh, I guarantee
But
it
I
would.
mean, yeah, well, that's it. It's always easy to say we should have done this and done that, you
Of
know. But
course.
hmm.
So in terms of one shot, now that we're still, I mean, we're still in lockdown, we're still not where we should be. Do you start thinking about the second album, or is it really, look, I've done one, leave me alone. I don't need to be, I'll do Nordic Union, I'll go do Pretty Maids, but I've done the one Ronnie album. Or did it give you a thirst and a hunger to go, okay, let's go,
Well,
let's do another 10?
yeah, I mean, Nordic Union is not in the cards, and I'm just thinking the only thing I actually want to do and I can do, I still got a lot of ideas left, you know, and I'm still writing new stuff, you know. So, and there will be no touring here for the next 6 months, I guess. I can't see that happening. So I might as well spend my time writing some new stuff, you know, and maybe start recording it. I mean, there's no deadline, there's no specific plans, but that's probably what I'll do.
I'm all for it. An album in March and an album in October. I'm good to go. Let's bring it on. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, 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 man. You're optimistic, buddy. But
I'm
listen,
optimistic, but listen. I love my music, and by the way,
yeah.
one shot. Since we haven't really talked about the actual songs are great. You listen to Subjugated, Real, Scorpio, and then all the one by one. This is a fantastic album. I mean, congratulations. I mean, you did not just, crap out some nonsense. You put out a fantastic album that'll be on a lot of top 20 lists when we talk in December.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
happy
Guaranteed.
to hear that, man. I hope so. I hope
Oh no,
so.
I can tell you. This ain't crap. This is top quality. This is, you need to buy this album, folks. Don't stream this nonsense. Buy it. Buy it, buy it, buy it, because you will want to get this signed. It's that good. Anyway, as we say well, as my mom says, tack ska hey. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Welcome, man.
Always a pleasure. And
Oh,
folks, One Shot is available. Well, by the time you hear this, it'll be available now. Go pick it up, and I kid you not, this is a fantastic album, and you will love listening to this. Thank you, Ronnie.
you're welcome, man. Nice talking to you, Mitch.
Cheers. Always a pleasure.
Okay, all good.
There we go. I'm going to turn off the record. That was perfect. Thank you. We got into the half hour, and we got it all done. And thank you. And I do hope you feel better, and I hope that we do get to see you live again, because the Avantasia show was great, and this album is truly, truly fantastic.
I'm happy to hear that, man. I hope so. I really hope so. And as I said, right now I'm feeling good. So let's see. Nobody knows no, we don't know tomorrow. Let's see what happens, you know. But as long as I feel like this, I'll just go on.
Yeah. Well, keep going. Merci. Cheers.
Cheers, Mitch. Take
Bye.
care, man. Have a nice day.
You too.